got him a new trial. And I will curb my enthusiasm because there's still a lot more fighting to go. He's still not out of jail. And as I said, after the post-conviction hearing, we're going to keep fighting until he's out of jail. So we've made a lot of progress, but we're still not there. One of the first things we're going to be looking at is whether we can get him out on bail, because as of now, his conviction has been vacated. It's going to be up to the state whether they want to appeal Judge Welch's order or whether they want to just go forward with a new trial. So the ball's kind of in their court, and we will wait and see what their next move is. The opinion, and has the actual opinion been released? Does anyone know?
Yeah.
So if you've seen it, it's very interesting. It was granted on the cell tower issue. And I've only had a time to skim it, but he denied the Asia McClain issue and granted it on the cell tower issue. And we'll have more time to digest that and analyze that in the next week. So far, I've just been able to skim it, but it looks like it's about a 55, 60-page opinion. So obviously, the judge put a lot of time into it and wrote his opinion very thoroughly. We have tried to contact Adnan without any success. We've been calling the prison in Cumberland ever since we got this news. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get through to him directly, but it's my guess that the news has spread to him by now. He's a well-liked person at that prison, and the guards are human beings, and the guards read the newspaper, and I have little doubt that someone has given him a heads up as to what happened today in Baltimore City. So there's a lot of people who have been part of this effort that's gone on really for 17 years. First, I want to thank Adnans Family, who I had a chance to talk to briefly today. I've always felt it's an honor to be able to represent Adnan, and I am truly inspired by their faith in me to let me keep going as the lead counsel in this case. So they've been incredibly supportive. They are the best clients that any lawyer could ever wish for. That goes for Adnan, that goes for his parents, that goes for his brother. The whole family is fantastic. My partners here, Lily and Chris Nieto, have done incredible work on this. It's been a team effort. Rabia Chaudhry, who unfortunately can't be here today, but Rabia has led this whole fight for 17 years. We could not have done it without her. Susan Simpson, Colin Miller, and the undisclosed podcast team. Sarah Koenig put out Serial, but the real investigation that has yielded real results, a lot of that occurred by the work of Susan Simpson and Colin Miller. So we are eternally grateful for them, and especially Susan's work on the cell tower issue. We couldn't have done it without them. So if anyone has any questions.
What was the family's reaction? What were they saying?
I think for those of you who know Yusuf, Adnan's little brother, and it's kind of funny because I've seen him grow up in the course of my representation of Adnan from like a kid to now he's a man and he's become eloquent. But they were at times speechless, so I had to check and make sure the phone line had not gotten cut off. But they're delighted, and I know how much this has weighed on me, but that's probably a fraction of the pressure that it has put on that family. They're happy.
Can you explain the part of the opinion that talks about Asia McClain's affidavit? Her most recent affidavit was retransmitted to the appeals court. What does that mean?
And again, this is, I haven't reviewed the full opinion. I think probably based on what you're telling me that refers to is that while we were in the appellate process, we introduced the new affidavit from Asia McLean, and I think that's probably what they're referring to. We supplemented some of our filings with that affidavit, which was instrumental in getting us where we are today. Does that make sense?
No.
Good. It's not supposed to.
Okay.
You had mentioned that you still have a long way to go. How concerned are you that the state of Maryland can appeal this and you can end up back to square one all again?
They absolutely could, and I expect that to happen. I've always thought that win or lose at this phase, we're going to end up in Maryland's appellate courts. So I fully expect the state to appeal it, and we're prepared to fight. Our heels are dug in, and the last 3 or 4 decisions in this case have gone our way, but we know that the state's not going to give up, and we'll be ready.
How does the bail work at this point?
I don't know. We're gonna look into that over the weekend, but as to whether we want to pursue it and how we would pursue it, and quite frankly, there haven't been a whole lot of cases that have ended up in this posture. So, but it's something we're going to look at and start moving on in the coming weeks.
So since the state would have to appeal, this is a thing still that the AG's office would take up. It wouldn't go to the state's attorney to re-prosecute, but they would. Is it your understanding they would continue with this case?
Generally speaking, the AG's office handles appeals. So you're right about that. If it went up to the appellate courts, I would expect them to handle it. If sometimes the state makes decisions where they decide that they would rather just retry the case. If they were to make a decision like that, I would imagine then the case would get shifted over to the state's attorney's office, and it would be up to them to re-prosecute the case if that's what they wanted to do.
Given that you do expect an appeal, do you think that affects the bail thing you're talking about?
It could. There's different standards depending on what phase of the proceeding you're in, and that's something we've got to look into and figure out our strategy.
Justin, do you know, because it was granted on the failure to cross-examine the cell phone tower expert, that the new trial has to only solely focus on that, or is it a wide range?
Oh no, it would be. I mean, the conviction is vacated, so think of it as the conviction is erased. It's gone. He's not, as of this day, he's not convicted anymore. So if the state were to retry him, essentially we would be starting from scratch. I mean, the whole trial could potentially start again. That'd be interesting, huh?
What's the timeline on this? What are we looking at?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, the state probably has 30 days to decide whether they're going to appeal Judge Welch's decision. I think that's right. Chris?
I think so.
And I'm sorry, you said the AG's office has to decide to appeal and then it'd be handed off to the city prosecutors?
No. The AG's office, they handle criminal appeals. The state's attorney's office does not. They just don't do that. So, look, this has been handled in an unusual manner. A post-conviction hearing is typically handled by the state's attorney's office. In this particular case, an assistant AG handled the post-conviction proceeding, which I've never seen that happen before. It's unusual. So, whatever, I can only speculate as to what's going on over there, but it seems like there's some collaboration between the two.
How confident are you that you'll get him out of jail, or do you think it's a long shot?
I'm feeling pretty confident right now. This was the biggest hurdle. It's really hard to get a new trial, and you know, the improbability of all of this. There was a time when this was initially denied, and we were filing an application for leave to appeal, that it was analogous to putting the last nail in the coffin. I think Sarah Koenig articulated it pretty well in Serial, and she said, you know, this case is just hanging by a string, and it literally was. Statistically, it was over. So we have come back from that, and we have incrementally won and gained more and more traction, and now this is us getting over the hill. And again, you know, I can't emphasize enough that there's a lot more work to be done, and we've got a long way to go, but we're feeling pretty confident.
Without that podcast, are we sitting here today having this conversation?
I don't think so. All right. Anything else? Where's Fenton?
Writing the story.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
why I'm here.
I'm just joking. It just feels weird not to have him here. Okay. Thanks a lot for coming. And
Formal statement.
what?
We're to be issuing a formal statement, right?
Yeah, I think we'll perhaps put out a formal statement later, but you guys probably got what you need here. So thanks for
I'm
coming.
sorry,
Yeah.
One more question,
Yeah.
briefly. Could you describe what your argument, do we know why his attorney didn't cross-examine the cell phone tower expert, in your opinion?
We don't know why. You know, she's deceased right now. We can't ask her, and you know, that's the whole essence of the opinion, is that there's no explanation for not cross-examining the cell tower expert. If you're aware of this fundamental problem with the cell phone records, as a criminal defense attorney, you must cross-examine the state's witnesses about those cell phone records. So it's a question we'll never know the answer to. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.